welcome. In this yoga class, we're going to work on the splits, also known as Hanumasana. So a few things I'd like you to remember. First of all, you need to do this in a warmed up state. So we will start with a warm up. However, if you've just come from another yoga class or a run or something like that, that's considered warm enough. Number two, this takes time. So it's not like you just do this class and then, yep, at the end of it, you can do the splits. I mean, if you're kind of close to the splits, this will help, but it's the process of repeating the stretches which will help you develop it. So our warm-up, take your legs wide. We're going to do some side lunges. So just turn the toes out and bending from side to side. So you want your toes turned out because your knees are to track over the top of that. So let's just do 10, 9, 8, and I want you to go deep so you can feel that stretch through the inner thigh as well. 7, 6, 3, 2, last one. And holding there. You could put your elbow on your knee or hands to the floor. Maybe the right elbow will nudge the knee out wide. Just breathe. Inhale, come up, exhale, walk your hands over to the other side. Again, you could rest your left elbow on the knee or bring the hands to the floor. So you're using your breath to get through this and gently encourage the body to relax and open. Let's come all the way back up to standing and step your feet together. Some backward lunges. So step the right leg back and come in. Step your left leg back, whoops, and come in. Ideally your knees not touching the floor. Let's do 10. So this is also warming up the hamstrings, this backward lunge. Keep your eyes fixed on one point. So if you're finding this really difficult to balance, you could hold on to a wall, a pole, whatever's near you. So if you're counting, once you've done your 10, just come onto your mat. Let's do one more each side. And coming up. All right, so you should be nice and warm now. All right, make your way into a lunge on your mat. So you've got the left foot in front and we're tucking the tailbone under, pushing the hip forward. So there's a couple of things, or three, but a couple of things we're mostly looking at stretching. One, you need flexible hip flexors, iliopsoas minor, major, the pectineus muscle. So these are the muscles that join the upper body to the lower limbs. So breathing in, breathing out. See if you can lift the chest and tuck the tailbone under. So rather than hanging out here, that's also getting into the hip flexor, but we're getting in more hip flexor if you have this tucking under of the hip. And just be prepared to stay for a little while. No rush. Come into your deep breath. All right, take your hands to the floor, or you might have two blocks. Straighten your left leg. We're going to really flex the ankle. Inhale, pour the body forward. Exhale. So if you feel a stretch through that left hamstring, then you're in a good place. If you don't, then maybe you want to lower the blocks or loose the blocks. So like I said in the beginning, there's no rush. Focusing on the prize at the end and not the price. come back into the lunge. Keep the toes untucked and lift the knee off the floor. So once more, if you like, you could have your hands on a block if the floor feels a little bit far away. And actually, with the hands on the block, that enables me to have my spine upright. So energy through that back leg. Right knee off. 3. Cultivate a pleasant face. 2. And 1. Knee down. Let's straighten the left leg. You can walk your hands back, sitting on the floor. Move the heel out of the way. Breathe in, reach up. Breathe out, reaching forward. See if you can roll the right hip down. Inhale, let's lift up. Exhale, walk your hands forward and just change legs. I'm just going to pivot around this way. So left knee on the floor, hands on your blocks. So let's think about tucking the tailbone under. So if you're not in your deepest lunge here, don't worry too much. You want to feel this stretch at the hip crease. Pushing the hips forward. Back is upright. It will feel like there's a little bit of an arch in the lower back. Chest lifted. Constantly feeling like you're squeezing the left buttocks, pushing your hips forward. And release, hands to the floor or to your blocks. Straighten your right leg. Inhale, lift the chest. So if it feels like your hips are going off to the right, bring them back to the center. So one way to do that is to pull the hips to the left, and almost like you're aiming your left hip bone forward. Flexing the right foot. Inhale to lift up, exhale, walk back. So a really important thing to remember here is that you don't want to overstretch the hamstring. So one way to prevent that is to be recruiting the muscles of the quadricep and flexing this ankle. So resisting the urge to roll off to the side. And if one side is more flexible than the other, just take note, don't judge, don't force. Eventually things even up. Inhale, look up. Exhale, come back into your lunge. Remember, you can have those hands on the blocks if you like. Left knee off the floor with a pointed toe. Actually, you know what? It doesn't matter. You can have the toes tucked under, unless I just like it like this, because I'm really relying on recruiting the muscles to do the work, rather than the toe tuck to lift me up. So keep lifting the knee. If you can, you're arching back. 3. And release. All right, let's come back to the center. Both knees on the floor, going into some adductor stretch. So pushing the knees wide. Feet are about as wide as the knees. Ankles flex, toes turned out. Just stay for 5. Inhale, come back to your palms. Push yourself up to kneeling, and then tuck your toes under. Wide-legged down dog. All right, come up to standing. Let's turn to the left, coming into a narrow pyramid pose. So all the toes are facing forward. You're going to stand up. So turn your toes that way, arch the back, and then start to press all the weight down through the left foot. You can have your blocks handy and put your hands on the blocks. Or reaching your hands to the floor. So some things I'd like you to remember is rolling the right hip down, pulling your left femur back. And if you're really comfortably reaching the floor there's some things we can do to make this more intense. Are you ready? You're going to lift the left toes up, really flexing the left foot. If you still need more, let's lift the right heel up. See how I'm shifting the body weight forward? So there's lots of energy or force pressing down through the left heel. Most of the weight's driving through that left heel. The back foot's just giving me some support. Keep flexing the left ankle. And you might even have seen those poses where people take the hands behind, bend the right knee, lift the right foot up. That's kind of like an extreme version of what we're doing here. And you can do that if you like. But if you can do that, you can probably already do the splits. All right, let's bend the left leg, step back to down dog, step the right foot forward. So it's a fairly narrow stance. You can come up, all the toes are facing forward. Inhale, arch the back, look up. And then exhale, go forward, go halfway down. Have those blocks, or you know, your block could be anything. It could be a nice big thick book like a dictionary. Could be a little footstool. But even then you can pick up yoga blocks for quite cheaply at any sporting store. So let's organize the hip alignment. The right femur, this thigh bone, is drawing back. You don't want your hips sticking out to the right. Pull your hips back to the left. And notice how we're going in stages. Resist the urge to go all the way down to the deepest level. You're gently coaxing the body into more flexibility, more malleability. Breathing. Still lifting up through this right knee. So when people say lift the right knee, what they're actually meaning is contract or flex your right quadriceps. So as if you were trying to show off your nice musculature. If you're going further, flex the right foot. If you're going a little further, lift the left heel. Keep pouring the body forward. And then there was that thing, if you do one thing on one side, you've got to do it on the other side, even if it's just a demonstration. Whew. All right, let's take one more breath. Earth the feet, step back to down dog. Breathe into plank, it's just a little break. Inhale, up dog. Exhale, back to kneeling. All right, we're just going to do some little variations of what we've done now. Let's step the left foot forward. Come into a low lunge. So we'll take the hands on the inside. You can tuck the toes under. Lift the knee off the floor. And get your chest really low. Really, really low. So you're encouraging the right knee to be off the floor. You're trying to bend your left knee more. And almost like you're trying to bring the groin or the thigh down to the floor. Relax the knee. Untuck the toes. Let's stay supported on the floor. And just check that your knee, your left knee, is tracking in the same direction as your left toes. Inhale, lifting up. Let's come back up, both hands on the knee. Reach both arms up, palms together, and look back. Reach back. Reach back, look back. Breathe. Tailbone tucking under. right hip flexor as if you're trying to lift it up. Go back. And then release. Hands down, tuck the right toes under, step your right foot forward. So going in for another deeper hamstring stretch. Maybe this time place your foot on top of the block, left foot on top of the block, and then pitch the weight forward. So this really is giving you no choice but to flex this ankle. Keep breathing. Inhale, look up. Let's release. Step back to down dog. Step your right foot forward, left knee on the floor. Let's take the arms on the inside. Toes are tucked under. And then lower your chest as low as you can. So that knee might start to get a little closer to the floor because you're bending it. But lift the knee, let the knee get closer because you're bending the front leg. Earth the right foot, so the whole of the right foot down. Rather than looking back, you're looking straight down at your hands, so you're long through the spine. Bend a little more. And then release the left knee to the floor. Inhale, come up. So something also to consider is that don't let your ego get in the way, because that can also be where injuries lie. All right, lifting the arms up, we're taking a back bend, reaching back, bending the right knee, looking back, scooping the tailbone under. Even though it looks like you're in a back bend, you're still tucking this tailbone under. 3, 2, and last breath. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, hands down, knee off. Step your foot closer. Take your block and place it underneath. So if you don't need this extra, just repeat one of the options that we did previously. So I've got the block pretty much where the arch is. Lift the left heel. So we're not only just pressing down through the right heel, you can also press down through the front of the foot. Inhale, let's come out of the pose. Step back to down dog. Let's get those legs back together for a moment. Breathe in, plank. Breathe out, chaturanga. Inhale, lift. Exhale, come back to kneeling. So are we ready? We're actually going to have a crack now of going into the full splits. Blocks on hand. So even if you can do the splits, you can use the blocks to help you develop the practice and go a little deeper. So let's start with the right leg, and you might naturally have one leg that's more flexible than the other. Actually, start with your leg that you know is tighter. For me, it's my left leg. Then you're going to be less likely to be caught up with how you were doing on the other side. All right, so Hanumasana. You've got one leg going back, and you've got the other leg going forward. So I want you to go to that point where that's it. And then check your back knee. If your back knee is more like this, with your right hip open, that might mean that you need to come up higher. So your hips are facing forward. Pull your right hip forward. And then start to slide the legs away. And hold. So you go to your point, and you'll hold. Remember, the back is up. And the feet that left foot can be pointed or flexed. I know in gymnastics they often, or ballet, they often point it. I like it flexed just to help me keep the muscles switched on. So while I do this, I'm not pushing into my deepest variation. I'm actually holding back. So there's some recruitment of the muscles, some tension while I'm stretching. It's a safer way to do it, and it'll give me a better stretch. So let's go down. Oh, actually, if you're fairly close now, what I'd like you to do is place 1 or 2 blocks underneath your left thigh. And you could do this first, if you like, and then go back to that one on the hands. So what are we looking for? Rolling the right hip down so your knee is directly on the floor. If that's too close, sorry, if it's too easy, you can lose a block. When you're feeling ready, coming all the way down. And we're going to hold it here for about 10 breaths. No rush, nowhere to be. So remember what I said earlier, focus on the prize, not the price. And the prize, I don't mean that when you get into the splits like there's alarm bells and streamers, it's just you going, cool, I've done something that my body previously couldn't do. And please don't feel that you're limited by age. I have a number of students in my classes that are in their 60s and they can pop into the splits. And one lady tells me that she loves to do it to her grandkids just to sort of show off. When they're like, Nana, you should take it a bit easier. And then when she's in the splits, they're like, whoa. All right, let's prepare to exit. Slowly, slowly. So if this was a flow class, we could move into down dog, but we're just going to change legs. Go slow as you did on the other side. So if you're younger, your body is naturally more malleable, and maybe this is more warm-up or stretching than you need. So, holding yourself. Or remember that option, taking 1 or 2 blocks. And so what this does, the block, is that it helps you be upright with your spine. So you're working that back bend, you're working the left hip flexor to be open. You're working on encouraging your left knee down. So if you have a look back at your left foot, the top of your left foot is facing down. So going a little further. So anytime I've got injured in a yoga class, it's usually because probably 3 things. 1, ego, just not working mindfully, just saying, oh yeah, I can do this. 2, I haven't been mindful. I've been half asleep and not really concentrating and have just gone where I thought my body could go but haven't warmed up. Or 3, a teacher pushing me a bit too far, too quickly. So in that case, it's okay when someone comes to adjust you to go, oh no, I'm okay with this one. Because you're the only person in your body that knows what's going on. So going all the way down. So while you may have been able to go straight down to this position, by using that contraction of the muscle, you're allowing your body to open more safely, less chance of overstretching or tearing. Breathing in and out. How's that right leg? Is it active all the way? So when I say relax into it, it's more of a mindset relaxing into it. My legs, they're not relaxed. This is definitely not a pose I could fall asleep in. So working on lifting the chest. Slow breaths. So you're also learning how to manage stressful situations. This is not a normal state to be in. Mindfully coming out, hands on the inside, drag your feet and knees back together. And then let's just pause here. If you want child's pose or lying down, I know for me, my legs just want to be together for a little bit. And if you like, maybe that's the end. Or stay with me because we're going to advance it a notch. Coming out of your child's pose, take your knees wide. So we've been here before. Feet flex, turning out. And come down to rest your elbows on the floor or a block. I'd say 80% of yoga poses require that hamstring flexibility. You kind of can't get away with not having your hamstrings stretched in some way in the course of a regular yoga class. So this is going to help many other postures, being able to do the splits. All right, let's bring the knees back together. We'll start with the right leg first. So block. Go into your splits and you're going to place the block underneath the calf muscle. So what this is going to do is actually make it that you're beyond 180 degrees for your splits. Now you could place the block under the calf or the heel, your choice. Still working on moving that left hip forward. Lifting the chest. So see how I've got my hands there? I'm kind of holding out of the pose a little bit. So for me, the limiting factor is not the hamstrings, it's the hip flexors. They're quite tight for me because of other exercise that I do. So tucking the tailbone under. If you're ready and willing, going all the way down. And slowly, slowly coming out. Drag the knees and feet back together. And getting ready to change sides. So if you're lucky enough to be 18 still or again, maybe you're finding this is quite slow, but if you're more mature, like me, you probably appreciate and greatly benefit from taking your time to get into these poses. And I promise you, I do not wake up in the morning and jump into the splits. Maybe once upon a time, but not now. All right, so we're going to place the calf or the heel. I'm just going to move this forward. There we go. The block underneath the calf or heel. So that as you split the legs away, it's going to be resting there. So you would only do this if you can go into the splits while keeping that right knee down. Only if you need a little extra challenge. And with every pose, of course, we arrive at that point where the body goes, you know what, that's enough. So if you're cooked, please discontinue the practice. Just come into child's pose or lying on your back. We're almost done. Please don't feel the need to take this whole length of time that we've taken. You know, this is like half an hour, but you could do this if you spend 5 or 10 minutes a day doing any one of these. That would work. One more breath. Mindfully coming out, dragging the knees back together. Taking some rest on your back in Shavasana, or perhaps just a comfortable cross-leg seat is all you need. So you can handpick those exercises to add to your daily repertoire of stretching. But just remember the key points: warm up, make sure you stretch hip flexors, hamstrings, and then incorporate that back bend, that lifting up. So they're the four main important points for the splits Hanumasana. Thanks for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, please hit subscribe and like, and I'll see you again soon on your yoga mat.